Thanks a lot, Stephen. So I hope I don't disappoint you with this. To get started, so Stephen already pointed out my topic. So it's, as you can see, using social media. You can see it up there. Social media. Wait, hang on. Using social media. See, from a simple approach of just pointing the analog way, I embrace technology in the form of a pointer, which makes my life a lot easier. I don't have to jump and point in so vaguely somewhere up there. I use technology, which I got from the friendly staff here. So for the next 367 slides, I would like to convince you to embrace technology as well, as I did with the laser pointer, but in this case, for your online marketing. Now, I've seen this earlier from the crowd. Some people take pictures with their phones. You don't need to do this. You can have the slides. I'll tell you later how to get them, so you don't have to worry about taking pictures of it and try to get sort of blurry pictures out. I also know that something not working. Oh. I'm losing it. Okay. Probably a bit too noisy. I also know that I'm standing between you and lunch. So I try to get this through reasonably quickly. For those of you who don't have time for lunch, time to sit here and are hungry, all you need to memorize is this formula, and you're good. Okay. You will be questions on that formula later in order to get your certificates of attendance. If you can't repeat that, then you don't get it. Okay, I'm kidding. This is a real thing. So let's dive right into the data. One thing, this source. So I normally put the sources here. You can't. Sometimes you can't really see it. So this is from paradisesocial.net, a property-specific social media net. They have done research, particularly in the US market, and found that 9 out of 10 real estate searches actually do begin online. This is quite important, because if you're not online, you're missing out on 90% of potential business. Okay, this is from maybe a source that you know better. This is Rialto.org, another American site. They have done a similar research, and they found 92% of people use the internet in their home search. And mind you, this says search, not social media. Okay? People do not go to Facebook or Twitter and search for property. Okay? Nobody does that. People will go to, for example, Google or Yahoo and do a search. That is important to consider. Real estate-related Google searches increased by 250% over just a couple of years. That shows you how much more people go online to search for properties. That doesn't mean that people no longer look at newspapers or magazines, for example. The target group is different. If somebody looks at, for example, The Edge or magazines, they're probably investors. They are looking what's currently there. They already have a pile of money which they would like to spend on something. For home buyers who tend to live or plan to live in their own place, they're not going to go to, for example, magazines. They will go to the internet and find something that they like. Next one. About 70% of prospects take action on a real estate website who take action on the real estate website begin by typing in a local search term into a search engine. So if somebody does a search on Google, for example, they don't type in, let's say, retail space in Kuala Lumpur. This is just too vague, too broad. So they do very, very specialized, highly localized searches. And this is where your advantage is going to be. I've spoken to a number of property agents. I'm not in property at all. I have no clue about this. Other than once in a while renting in like office or home. But I've spoken to some of the agents here, and I've learned that most of them are very specialized in terms of a region. So let's say specifically in, let's say, Wangsa Maju Section 5, or Wangsa Maju in more general, or Setia Wangsa or Bangsa or whatever it might be. This specific localization puts you into an advantage for the strategy that I'm going to try to introduce to you later on. Because, as I mentioned, local search terms. Okay, I was going to say technology gave up on me, and I still have to jump. Oops. So another thing, that more and more searches, not only for property, but in general, are being done on smart devices, so tablets and smartphones in particular. So when you put up your online presence, you have to make sure that whatever you have in terms of your online presence, your website, your blog, or whatever it might be, that it is mobile friendly. This is particularly so on weekends, as we will see later, when people search for properties on weekends. Now, let me change gears a little bit to get this through. So the high tech has, oh no, here it is. Okay, so RA stands for real estate. I didn't have space on that line. So in real estate, people buy from people. That you already know, and that I've heard again by speaking to some of you. Real estate deals are people-to-people deals. So nobody buys from, let me just take this up. Nobody buys from real property. People will buy from Amanda Go. Same as for insurance. These are very, very personalized transactions. And again, this is where your strength is going to be. Now, how do you present yourself in the online world? So this is a bad example. This is somebody who just pushes out tweets that are non-descriptive and of no use. The other thing is somebody puts an effort to push out tweets. I'm not sure if you can see this, to 35 followers. Not quite worth it. So I want you to present yourself in a better way online. And that by doing, and you do this by developing your own personal brand. As I said earlier, real estate deals are done from person to person. In order for you to attract somebody to buy a piece of real estate or rent a piece of real estate through you, that person has to trust you. And they will only trust you if you put up a proper personal brand that they can identify with. So that, I believe, is a very important part. And it's not what you try to show of yourself only. It is the perception that others have of you that also defines your brand. Now, part of your personal brand are these things. For example, what are your goals? What are your professional missions and visions and so on? What are your personal values? You can read this. Now, I don't want you, when we later talk about putting up an online presence, I don't want you to put on your website, for example, a mission statement or a vision statement. They're completely useless. They're very often used here in Malaysia in particular. Every government website has one. But have you ever come across a mission statement that says, "Oh, we want to be a mediocre company. We want to, our goal with customers is not to sort of serve them half-heartedly," and so on. Nobody will ever have a mission statement like this. Every mission statement says, "No, we want to be the best in this. We want to be the best in that. We want to treat our customers like kings," and so on. So everybody knows this. So you don't have to put it up. Unless your goal is to be mediocre, then you probably should it up, because that's something that people would not expect. So wrong button. So things like this, like values, missions, and so on, particular skills, those have to be woven into the content that you present to your readers or to your potential clients. It is not something that you come up in form of a checklist. It has to be visible through the content that you provide in your online presence, so that people can identify themselves with. Now, let's talk about social media. These are the most common known pieces in social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. And now the light is not so bad, I can actually see you. Who has a presence on Facebook? A professional presence. I'm not talking about your own personal Facebook account where you show pictures of your cat or what you had for breakfast. I mean really a professional presence on Facebook. Who has one? Very few. Now really, who has one? You must be more than that. Interesting, this is very few. Okay, who is on Twitter professionally? Even fewer. What about Instagram? Anybody on Instagram? Okay, some on Instagram I can see, so it's a bit more than Twitter. Who is on LinkedIn? Personally. So not for business, but personally on LinkedIn. Oh, that's already a good group. Okay, and then who has a blog? for the business. So for your agent side, not for a personal, again, but for your professional endeavors. Who has a blog? Nobody? Who has a blog? Oh, one. Okay, Gary, I know. Okay, there's one hand there. So very good. So at least a couple. Now, everybody, when they talk about social media, thinks about the first four: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. But a very important part in terms of social media is actually to have a personal blog. And that's the part I'm going to try to sell to you in terms of an idea. Now, see how you fare in others. This is from the US market again. 84% of real estate professionals are now using social media. And you can see the top one is Facebook, then Twitter, followed by LinkedIn and WordPress. WordPress is a blogging platform I'm going to talk about in a second. So you can see that, at least for the US market, 79% of real estate agents have professional Facebook pages. So that means that you guys are really lagging a bit behind compared to this. In terms of levels of comfortability, the light blue one, or whatever it is, or greenish one, turquoise, whatever it might be, this is people who are comfortable using social media. The others are somewhat and not at all comfortable. So this is just, again, who has Facebook accounts and so on. I'm going to skip through this. Now, before I recommend to you what strategy you should take up in terms of your social media presence, let's revisit why people actually do visit social media. Not you as a business, but actually people who consume social media as a whole. Most people get to Facebook to be entertained. That's it. They want to see dancing cats, they want to see failures of people, and other things. They're not coming to Facebook to see ads, number one. They're not coming to Facebook to see product listings. They're not going to go to Facebook and search for products or services. Nobody on Facebook likes to get marketed to. Nobody on Facebook in general likes to look at advertisements. Okay, everybody wants to see entertainment. That is an important thing that you have to keep in mind. The other thing what they want is social. The term social in social media stands for conversation. People want to be part of a conversation. See, the opposite to it is, for example, a newspaper or TV. That's a one-way street. So a newspaper or TV, push it out one way, and the other side just consumes it. That's it. For the online world, particularly in social media, it's a two-way street. You put something out, people comment on it. They like it, they don't like it, they share it, whatever it might be. But it's a two-way street. And that's the one I want you to consider in your marketing efforts and to embrace. And the best way of doing that is by considering your social media presence. What's the purpose? Why should you be on Facebook? Why should you have a professional Facebook account? The main reason really is to establish expertise. The reason for anybody to have a professional social media account, whatever it might be, whatever platform it might be, is to establish himself or herself as an expert in their field. That's it. That's the main part. Once you can do this, you build a trust level with potential clients and visitors to your social media platform. You then gain the trust of your customers, or you meet even potential customers or leads. You can also then listen to customers' feedback. So if they have problems, if they have questions, they will ask you through social media. Let's say you post in it, you have an interesting post on Facebook. We're going to talk about some posts that might be worthwhile to put up. You will get comments back. That's the idea of social media. It is then up to you to respond to these comments in a professional manner. This way, it will help you to establish even more trust and get more reach out of that. So what you should not have your social media tactics for, or your social media presence for, is, as a pitfall, not having a strategy in your social media. So what Stephen just mentioned, part of what most people do is the strategy of post and pray. So they just post something and hope for the best, that people will like it, share it, and it sure will get viral. Normally it doesn't. Another fall fallout is trying to be everywhere. If you're a one-man show as an agent, I'm not talking about agencies. Agencies may have the budget or the manpower to present on multiple social media platforms. If you're limited in time and effort, then just be on one or two that are important to your clients, where your clients are. If you have high net worth clients, they might be on LinkedIn, let's say. Others, like families, might be on Facebook or on Instagram. I'm going to talk a bit about the demographics in a second. So be where your customers are, not where you would like to be. You got to be consistent. You got to be consistent in how you deal with your social media across all platforms that we're going to talk about. And very important, you do not sell on Facebook. You engage, you develop leads, and you use them as a funnel. And what that means, I explain in a slide in a moment. Now, most people think that Facebook is a great avenue of social media for your business purposes. Now, I have seen for many businesses, for several professional clients as well, that they use personal profiles for their commercial purposes. So if you set up your own personal profile on Facebook and you use your personal profile to push your real estate listings, then Facebook will see this and they will deduce out of this that you use your Facebook profile for commercial gain. And in no time, Facebook will switch off your account. They don't even send you a warning. If you use a personal Facebook account for commercial gains, Facebook will switch you off. I have seen many Facebook accounts die. That's how I get part of my business. People come in, Frank, what happened? I tell them, okay, this and this happened, so we better set this up properly. So what you should do is set up a business page. The main difference between a business page and, well, there are two main differences. One main difference, the major difference between a personal page and a business page is that in a personal page, you can message out to people. People who are not currently your friends, you can message out. So you can, if you use this for business purposes, you can spam other Facebook users. That's why Facebook is so strict about this. For business pages, you cannot. People have to contact you first, and then you can respond to that. So you cannot spam. Okay. That is a main difference between, from a Facebook point of view, a main difference between a personal profile and a page. Setting up a page is free, so it doesn't cost you anything except time and a bit of effort. You do this out of your personal profile. Another drawback of Facebook business pages, so one is that you can't message out. Another drawback is that the organic reach of a post is very, very small. Now here, this is one of our properties, fashionshop.com.my, but we have in this case, so this is a bit an older slide, 1,130 likes, fans. Now, I put a post up, or actually one of my staff put a post up for some new design that we put on. 7 people were reached organically. 1,323 did not see this post. If you post something on your personal timeline, pretty much all your friends will see it. So the reach of a personal page is much, much greater than for a business page. So in terms of, so you're forced to use a business page by Facebook, but on the other side, the business page doesn't work unless, of course, you pay Facebook for it. Now, what I suggest, what you should do is not focus on the traditional social media, as in Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Instead, what I suggest to you is to set up your own personal blog. Okay. Then you use other social media channels like Twitter, YouTube, and whatever to funnel traffic onto your blog. This is the strategy that we use very successfully. It is the most cost-effective way of getting traffic to your business. Okay, this is the same thing in a different slide. So you have a sales funnel that comes out from social media but directs people into your own personal blog. And I'm not saying website, I'm saying blog. The difference between a website and a blog is that in a blog people can comment or can leave comments. In a website they cannot. Website is, again, the one-directional thing. Now, what I suggest, if you set up your blog, name it after yourself. don't name it something fancy. Name it after yourself, because it is going to be your own brand. So name it something like, whatever, Amanda Go Property Agent, or something like this. You can, if you're adventurous, you can say, okay, I call it Agent Amanda Go. But that might be a bit confusing. It's like James Bond kind of thing. But name the blog after yourself. Okay, that is, I think, an important part. Make sure it's mobile friendly. In general, they are. So the websites that you should build up using, for example, a WordPress backend, they're in general mobile friendly. So that's quite straightforward. To set it up is very easy. There's no coding involved. There's no high tech involved. It's a simple point and click. If you know how to use Microsoft Word, you can set up a website using a blog platform like WordPress. There's no coding and so on involved. So don't get this scare you. There's nothing you need to do except be able to write content like you would do in, for example, Word, Microsoft Word. The only things that you need to purchase are a domain name and web hosting. Web hosting is basically where your blog's going to sit, so it can be accessed by, well, the whole world if you want. This will cost you a bit of money. So let's say about 400 ringgit for a period of 3 years. That's it. So there is no other expenditure to it. There's no newspaper. If you put an advertisement in the newspaper or a magazine, in a newspaper ad like this costs you 12,000 ringgit. And it's only been shown once. Now for this social media platform in form of a blog, all you need, sorry, press the wrong button again. All you need are these two things valued at about 400 ringgit. That's it. The rest of your input is just time. Now, a blog is based on content. So you're going to write content that is important to your community. On top of that, you should show your credentials, like your license number, for example. So there's some mandatory things that should be in there. Contact us form is important so people can actually get in touch. We heard that yesterday that somebody mentioned a website that had really good information, but there was just no way of contacting the owner for more info. So those things you should have. And this is an example of a client of ours. It's not a real estate agent. In this case, it's a roofing contractor. And you can see he has all his services shown here. He has a blog for updates for what happens in his community. A very, very prominent phone number, as well as a contact form on every page. If you use a WordPress setup, this is all already built in. Well, you've got to type in your contact number, but all the other things are all set up. It's very easy to do, no coding involved. Now, once you have your blog set up, in terms of the technical things, you have to put in content. Now, the content comes in 3 or 4 different levels. The initial part is, again, not to sell right away. You educate your visitors on things that are currently happening in your localization, in your locality, or in your industry. If you're an agent in Wangsa Maju, for example, you tell things about what's happening in Wangsa Maju in general. It doesn't have to be property only. Other things that might be of interest to people in Wangsa Maju. New cafe opened, all kinds of things. But you also weave in some properties then as well. And you become more and more specific in what you show, and eventually you show a clear path to purchase. So in our case, a clear path to contact you regarding any property, let's say sales or rentals. Now, other blog content ideas would be, for example, highly localized content. Again, don't write articles about what's happening in the real estate industry in Malaysia. For that, you already have the magazines. You really want to be hyper-specific for your target area. And this is where it comes in that, for most of you, you are specific, or your working area is one particular suburb, for example. So you're a specialist in this. You know everybody in there. So write about it. It can be all kinds of things. Let's say you're in Wangsa Maju. My office is in Wangsa Maju. And 3 guys approach you. They want to open up a small cafe. a barista. We don't have that yet, so if you know anybody who wants to do this, I'm looking forward to some good coffee. Let's say they approach you. So you guide them through, and you get them a unit. What you can do then is you take a selfie in front, with those 3 guys in front of the unit, and you post it, together with some information about it, once you got the deal, once you got it rented out to them. So you show yourself as with a selfie in front of, with those 3 guys in front of the empty unit. And you post about it. You also ask them to give you some feedback, which you also post in the same article. So it's easy to get content. Other things you can do is news checking. That is called content curation. I'm not going to go through every single spot because I'm running out of time. But this is, for example, if there's an interesting article in a newspaper, you can copy that, provided you give the proper source. So you're not going to steal content. It's not plagiarism. You take content. How-tos, tutorials, and so on are good ideas as well. As I said, you can have the slides here. I'm going to jump through this a little bit quicker. Checklists and so on are good things. Also show your sold listings, but don't show them as just a picture, as it was before, and a bar through sold. You could show them, for example, as a picture in your listing that you had previously, and you just add another line in. This property has been rented, like for that coffee, for that cafe, for example. That property has been rented. Click here for the full story. People click on that, they come to a new page where it then shows your selfie with those 3 guys who open up their cafe. And you expand that. You make this into a story. So you visit that same property after a couple of weeks when these guys have started to fit out their new cafe. Again, you take a picture with these people and you post it again. And you come again after a couple of months when it's fully up and running. And again you post that. That gives you already 3 nice articles that you can post that are hyper-localized. The guys who run the cafe, they'll love you for it because you give them extra exposure. You get free content out of that, which is easy to obtain. Your prospective clients will love it because you show that you care, that you have this after-sales service, if you want, that you're a caring agent. So everybody wins with this. Another way of getting content is to snoop at your competitors. Now you can see what they do, what works for them and what doesn't, and learn from that. I'm going to, because of no time, I'm going to jump through this a bit quicker. Now, once you have your blog set up, then you promote your blog through social media channels, the traditional social media channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. This is an example from what we have done. This is our HR training website. And as you can see, you might not be able to read this, but there is a bit of an article, 4 lines of it, actually, in total. 3 lines are part of the content from our website. And the last line is, if you want to read more, click on this link. So the purpose of our Facebook post is not for people to read the whole story on Facebook. We want them to get excited a little bit in whatever 3 or 4 lines of text, and then click through to the website. And on the website, we give them the whole content plus our sales mill. Okay. For us, it's important to get people to sign up for our courses. So we show them, okay, this is existing clients or previous clients. They have enjoyed it. Read the rest on our website, and there you can also see what kind of programs we have. So you can do the same thing. This is an example of news jacking. So this was an article, in this case, I think in the New Straits Times, that we just shared on our website. So this is just the same thing in different words. This is out of Google Plus in this case. Again, nice picture from the actual training, a bit of text, and then everything where it shows here the red arrow is a link back to our website, because that's really the main idea. Attract people through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or whatever it might be, and funnel them back into your own blog. That's how you get the catchment. On the blog, you can write whatever you want, okay, on your own personal blog. Facebook may shut you down at some point. Who knows? Now, in 2 years' time, maybe Facebook will die. The MySpace death, who knows? And then everything that you have built up there will be gone. If it's your own blog, that you own forever, provided you pay, obviously, the domain name fees every year. I'm going to skip through this as well. Content curation, I mentioned briefly, so if you see an interesting article somewhere in a magazine, in a newspaper that you think is worthwhile sharing, you can do so both on your blog as well as on social media like Facebook, provided you give proper credit. Briefly through, for Facebook, for example, have posts with nice photos like you've seen us in my examples. Keep the text below 250 characters. This is 3 to 4 lines of text. And anything else that you want to say, just push them to your website. That is the overarching idea. Google Plus. Now, should you have a Google Plus page? And normally people say, no. But Google Plus, nobody engages with Google Plus. But Google Plus is really good when it comes to the backlinks. So the same post that you put up on Facebook, you just duplicate and put it on Google Plus. Again, a Google Plus business page. You get additional backlinks to your blog, which helps you in your natural search ranking then as well. So you should have one Google Plus page, but shouldn't spend too much time and effort on it. YouTube is if you have, let's say, videos when you walk through a property. Generally, it's done in photos, but let me tell you from experience, it is very easy to make a walkthrough in, let's say, a 2 or 3 minute video on your iPhone or smartphone, what you have. You're not Steven Spielberg, and nobody expects that from you. Now, people don't go to your blog to watch a video that is cinematic quality. They want to get information. And how you present this information, as long as it's not totally shitty, as long as you present it reasonably well, you're perfectly fine. So it's really, try to think about, instead of just taking pictures of your property, do a walkthrough with your phone and show people what the real thing looks like. You can host all your videos on YouTube, it's free, and you can then embed them into your own personal blog. Gives you additional highly interactive content. Okay, Instagram, same thing. So if you prefer to do photos, you can put them on Instagram. Now, a couple of things on Instagram. One thing is there are no backlinks that you get back to your site, so you cannot post something on Instagram and drive the traffic back to your website. It's not set up for that. You can't put links there. The other thing is that Instagram users tend to be younger and female, predominantly female. More so in Pinterest. Pinterest is a competitor to Instagram, photo sharing websites. For Pinterest, 80% of users are female. So if you attract, if you try to attract female users or female clients, then those might be good avenues. This is along the lines, it doesn't have to be perfect to be good. This is the official Starbucks Instagram page. And you can see there's a handwritten note, have a great Monday, handwritten. This is not a professional picture. But even Starbucks puts this up because it is more personal this way, rather than having it done in with an agency in a professional photo studio. Okay, Twitter. Some of you use Twitter, I've seen this. From a professional point of view, I wouldn't make that my first priority. The reason is that for Twitter, you actually have to have something to say that is relevant, urgent, and frequent. Unless you have that, that's fine. But if you only tweet like once a day or once every 2 days, don't bother. Okay. Focus more on, for example, Facebook, Google+, and so on. Last but not least, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not a platform for you to sell property. But I believe it is one of the most important platforms for you to be on professionally. If I would be a seller or a buyer of property and you come to me as an agent, I'm going to check you out. And the first place I go to check you out, check your credentials, would be LinkedIn. Because that's where you should be listed. Your achievements will be there, your awards will be there if you have any, your certifications will be there. There will be responses from your past clients. I'm going to check this out before I engage you as my real estate agent. So if you're not on LinkedIn yet, go and get on it. Fill out everything there is on the LinkedIn when you set up your account. Make the profile as complete as you can, because people do go and look. And to encourage you to do this, if you want the slides you have just seen, connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn address is in the speaker's profile. It's in the conference brochure, one of the first pages. So in the speaker's profile, there is my LinkedIn address. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Once I see you connect, I'll send you the slides. So that gives you a bit of an incentive. Okay, common mistakes that you should avoid. I mentioned a couple. One is to focus also only on acquisition. Social media are not only to get new clients in, it is also to entertain your current clients. That's why I mentioned this example, for example, with the 3 people who set up that little barista shop. So you keep them entertained. If they move on to a bigger place, open a second outlet, they will still call you. Spray and pray, I mentioned that. Be focused in terms of what you put up. What you post in your personal Facebook, up to you. You tell them what you had for breakfast, you tell them that you have a hole in your socks, anything can. For a professional page, you be focused as to what you want to show. Your web presence has only one goal, and that is to generate leads which hopefully will come into sales. Okay, and everything else has to feed into that particular funnel. So be focused and be specialized on this. Okay, the others I sort of mentioned. Okay, buying fans. That was a thing before. I got this asked quite often in Facebook. I post so much good content, but nobody likes me. I said, what's the point? It's not important. It's not the number of likes or followers on Facebook are not important. It is how many of those people who connect with you are actually or can actually be developed into leads or customers. Value. There is a value to friends and to likes. It's not the overall quantity, it's the quality of the people that you connect with. So don't worry if you only have a few followers or a few likers, provided those are actually of quality and can be groomed into becoming customers. Okay, so to wrap it up, I think I overshot a little bit. To wrap it up, now, I really encourage you, set up your own professional blog. It's very easy to do. You can learn this online. There are YouTube videos on it. There are many websites that teach you how to do this. If there is enough demand, now we do this obviously for our training, if there is enough demand, then maybe the MIA can set up a course that you can sign up for, and we can do it through this. It's not difficult. It takes you one day to do this. Post content that is highly localized and of relevance to your small community that you service. It is, if I'm in Wangsa Maju. So let's say I want to move my office to Bangsa. I would look for a property agent, I would Google for a property agent who services Bangsa. And what I would like to see is, I would go to that property agent's blog and read a bit about Bangsa, what's there. What other properties has he or she sold or rented out? What amenities does he or she describe, and so on and so on. So I want to learn about that neighborhood. And the property agent is probably one of the best suited to do this. This also helps you to establish yourself as an expert in your field, in your area. You develop trust with potential clients. Thing is, now stay focused, I mentioned that, and respond to comments and engage with people who contact you through social media, be it your blog, in the blog comments or Facebook and whatever comments, in a timely manner, in an honest manner. Okay, I think that concludes it. Yeah. So thanks very much.